Welcome to my channel. What if I told you that when she told you to leave, part of her wasn't asking for an ending? She was testing for a reaction. Not because she didn't mean the words, but because she didn't expect you to take them at face value. She thought you'd pause, hesitate, try to prove her wrong, but instead you step it back. Not out of pride, not out of anger, from something stronger. Self-respect. And that response. It's a quiet shift in your energy. It caught her off guard more than any argument ever could. In this video, we're diving into the deeper layers behind her words, how a grounded man, a stoic man, choose clarity over chaos, and why your decision to hold your center might be the very thing she now replays in her mind. Not long after you've moved forward. Let's begin. Number 1, the word said. The truth, the word said. The truth, hidden. She told me to go. I know you replayed those words in your mind 100 times. That sentence alone can echo in your chest, especially when it came without warning or when everything inside you wanted to stay and fight for her. But here's what most men miss. Sometimes a woman says what she thinks she needs to say because it feels safer from exposing what she truly feels. It's not always about pushing you away. Sometimes it's about protecting her own pride, her fears, or even her need to test your depth. A stoic man hears the words, but he listens beyond them. It's reltos. He didn't react to emotional weather. He watches the storm, anchored in clarity. He knows that behind strong words there can be trembling uncertainty. And when she said leave, maybe what she really meant was, prove to me that you care enough to stay. Or even more complex. I want you to fight for me, but I'm too scared to ask. You see, emotions are messy. They contradict. One moment she feels distant, the next she misses you the second you walk away. And yet a man grounded in Stoicism doesn't chase confusion. He doesn't beg to be understood. He remains composed because he understands something deeper. Love that must be forced isn't love that will last. Let me paint you a picture. A man stands at the door after she tells him to go. She doesn't cry. She doesn't lead. But after the door closes, she sits on the floor in silence, waiting, hoping he might turn the knob and return. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. The problem is, most men don't realize that moment exists. They either chase in desperation or walk away in bitterness. But you didn't have to fall into either trap. Your power is in the pause. It's in its strength that says, I heard you. I respect your space, but I won't abandon myself trying. To decode you, that's the balance. Staying centered even when the woman you love sends mixed signals. You respect her words, but you also recognize when her actions whisper something softer. A stoic man doesn't need closure from someone else. He is the closure. And if she truly hoped you would stay after telling you to leave, your stillness, your grace, and your peace will speak louder than any argument ever could. Sometimes the most unforgettable response is the one made in calm. Unshaken silence. Emotional chess, not checkers. Number 2, emotional chess, not checkers. This wasn't a careless goodbye. It was a move in an emotional game, one that tests your depth. She might have said, leave just to see if you'd call her bluff. But here's the difference. A man rolled by impulse tries to win the game. A stoic man, he doesn't play games. He walks away when the rules start to dishonor his peace. Not every goodbye is real, and not every leave means shooance you gone. Sometimes it's a cry masked as a command. Leave can mean prove me wrong. It can mean show me you care enough to stay. But if you live a war life always trying to decode hidden meanings, you'll end up exhausted, reactive, and endlessly chasing validation. A stoic understands this. He hears the words, he honors them. Not to punish her, but to protect himself. Let's be real. This is emotional chess, not checkers. And while she might move her queen with force, hoping to trap you emotionally, your move isn't to counter with desperation. Your move is stillness, self-control. You step back, not because you're weak, but because your dignity doesn't bargain with confusion. Your silence in response to mixed signals isn't passive. It's powerful. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a cliff and she tells you to jump both ops. You'll stay. Do you leap just to prove your loyalty, or do you stand your ground and wait for clarity? A man guided by Stoic principles chooses thelator. He doesn't react to emotional storms. He studies them, understands shared patterns, and only responds when the path is clear. Maybe she wanted you to stay. Maybe part of her heart hoped you'd fight. But your role isn't to rescue her from her own emotional contradictions. Your role is to remain rooted in who you are, calm, centered, and unwilling to be manipulated by fear. Longing? That's not cold. That's strength. That's what leaves a lasting impression. And here's what happens when you don't play the game. She starts to realize the gravity of her words. Because when a man walks away with peace, not bitterness, not revenge, just calm detachment, he becomes unforgettable. Not because he chased her, but because it didn't have to. So if you've been left wondering, did she mean it? Did she hope I'd stay? Understand this. Your job isn't to second guesses her signals. Your job is to stand firm in your truth. To protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. And maybe, just maybe, in your quiet exit, she'll finally hear the loudest message of all, that real men don't play emotional games, they rise above them. Before we dive into what happens after your silence, take a moment to reflect. Are you playing to win her back, or rising above the need to play at all? That distinction is everything. If this massage stirred something in you, hit that like button to show you're walking this path of calm and clarity. Leave a comment and share your thoughts. Or simply type, "I don't play to be chosen." It's a signal not just to her, but to yourself. Let's move forward and uncover what your absence realitigers once the game stops and the silence begins. Silence. Her loudest signal, number 3. Silence. Her loudest signal. No follow-up text, no I miss you, nothing. But silence can be loud. You see a woman in conflict often to sappers, hoping you'll break first. But the Stoic man, he embraces silence. He lets it reveal what words often hide. And in that stillness, she starts to wonder, why hasn't he come back? It's because that silence. It wasn't just a pause, it was a test, a silent pull to see if you'd chase. You see, when she told you to leave, she didn't expect you to actually let go. Not completely, not without protest. Part of her was banking on your return, that familiar knock, that I'm still here. It's that text that proves you still care even after. Been dismissed. But here's the part she didn't anticipate, that you've grown, that you've learned to hear the difference between a genuine goodbye and an emotional bluff, and that this time you chose to walk away, not out of anger, but out of respect for yourself. The Stoic man doesn't crumble at the sound of silence. He studies it. He understands shit. When someone goes quiet, they're not always at peace. They're often wrestling with emotions they're too afraid to show. Maybe she's scared. Maybe she's confused. Maybe she's caught in her own internal tug-of-war. But it's not your job to rescue her from it. It's your job to remain rooted, to stay aligned with your own values and your own peace. Let's say she's scrolling through old photos, moments that once made her feel secure. She taps through your stories, half hoping to see something, anything that shows you're struggling without her. But instead, she sees a man moving with purpose, calm, clear. Maybe you're hitting the gym, focusing on your business, spending time with people who uplift you. There are no dramatic captions, no cryptic posts, just presence, stillness, power. And that, my brother, is what shakes her more than any long message ever could. Because when a man doesn't try to argue with her decision, when he doesn't plead, chase, or convince, he flips the dynamic out. Suddenly, she's the one sitting in uncertainty. She's the one questioning whether she pushed away something she wasn't ready to lose. That's not manipulation. It's clarity. A byproduct of a man who understands that his peace is non-negotiable. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Now realize this and you will find strength. Can't control her silence, her doubts, or her games, but you can control your response. And sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. So, if she told you to leave, but hoped you'd stay, don't break your silence just to soothe her ego. Let her feel what life is like without the Manuel once showed up for her. Let her sit with the weight of her own words, because in that quiet space, she'll come to realize that what she lost wasn't just your attention. It was your presence, your calm, your strength. And maybe then, when the silence becomes too loud to ignore, she'll finally understand what your absence really meant. Number 4, she wanted to feel chosen without a skinkison. Without asking, she pushed you away, hoping you'd pull her back, not out of neediness, but out of longing to feel wanted without begging for it. But here's what sets you apart. You didn't chase love at the cost off your dignity. You chose yourself not to punish her, but to honor your worth. And that's where the real shift happens. You see, when she told you to leave, it wasn't always a final verdict. It was often a test of presence masked as rejection, a quiet hope that maybe you'd fight for her, but not in the way most men do, not through pleading texts, desperate calls, or showing up at her door. No, she wanted to feel like you chose her, even when she made it difficult to be chosen. Like you could see through her defenses and still stayed. But here's the thing. Stoicism teaches us not to act based on emotional fog, but from clarity. So when Ya walked away, it wasn't coldness. It was composure. Imagine this. She said leave, but her heart whispered, stay. In that moment, a man ruled by impulse would have rushed in to fix, to explain, to beg. But you didn't. Ballas's man who values himself knows this. Being chosen must be mutual, no textracted. She wanted reassurance, but the cost can't be your self-respect. And that's what echoes louder than any words. Your absence spoke volumes. Your stillness unsettled her more than 1,000 messages could. A stoic dozentress panned to every wave of emotion. He lets the tide rise, but he doesn't get swept in it. That's what you did. You didn't make her your mission. You became your own. And in doing so, you became the man she remembers in the quiet minutes. The one who didn't need her to validate his worth, but whose presence made her question why she let him go. Because when a woman tells you to walk away, but secretly wants you to stay, it's not about testing your obedience, it's about testing your value. And you showed her something she didn't expect, that your love is strong, but your boundaries are stronger. The mask of strength. It's the eyes of doubt. Number 5, the mask of strength. The eyes of doubt? You saw it. The shaky breath, the forced smile, the eyes that didn't match the confidence in her voice. Stoicism teaches you to see without reacting, to notice what's inside. You didn't call her out, you didn't fight, you simply walked with quiet strength. And that stayed with her longer than 1,000 please stay texts. She told you to leave, maybe with her chin up and arms crossed, but you saw the flicker in her gaze, the pause in her tone. That wasn't confidence, it was fear disguised as courage. She wore the mask of indifference because admitting her uncertainty would have made her feel weak. And in a world where a vulnerability can be used against you, that mask becomes a shield. But her rest thing, your eyes caught what her words tried to hide. You noticed, you guessed, didn't make a scene out of it. That's the Stoic difference. A reactive on would have begged, argued, tried to decode her contradictions. But you let the moment be what it was. You accepted her decision, even if you sensed it wasn't her truth. Because you understand that self-respect doesn't chase ambiguity. Stoic man knows his peace isn't found in trying to rescue Somione from their emotional contradictions. It's found in standing firm even when the moment tempts you toefold. You left. With grace, not to win a power game, but because staying uninvited isn't strength. It's self-abandonment, and that's something you refuse to do anymore. Now she sits with that silence. The kind-off silence that doesn't scream, but lingers. The silence that shows you want what you didn't say. That you didn't need to fight for space in someone's life. You didn't have to send follow-up messages, check in just to see if she's okay, or try to re-explain your worth. And that's what unsettles her, because deep down she hoped you'd ignore her words. She hoped your love would override her fear. But instead, You gave her what she asked for, your absence. And in doing so, you showed her that strength isn't loud. Strength is walking away with your dignity intact, even when your heart is tempted to stay. The Stoics taught that we must live according to nature, according to truth, not fantasy. And the truth was, she pushed you away. Maybe out of fear, maybe out of pride. But you didn't resist it. You embraced reality, and now she's left wondering if letting you go was worth the silence she's sitting in. Number 6. When you walk away without rage. When you walk away without rage, here's the thing. She expected a reaction, anger, pleading, maybe a dramatic scene. Instead, you gave her stillness. That calm that shocked her, more than any explosion ever could. Stoic man doesn't prove his pain. He holds it with grace. That's the kind of silence that whispers in her memories. What did I just lose? 'Cause whether she admits it or not, she wanted to feel something from you. Something loud, something messy. When she told you to leave, it wasn't always about wanting distance. Sometimes it was about seeing if you'd stay. Anyway, if you'd fight for her, or crumble, or chase after the version of her that kept pushing you away. She wanted to feel irreplaceable than having to ask for it. But what she didn't expect was a man who knew his worth enough not to entertain chaos. You didn't walk away in a storm of accusations. You didn't send a string of emotional texts trying to rewrite thending. No, you simply nodded. Maybe gave one last look and you left, not to punish her, but to protect yourself. That's what Stoicism teaches us. You didn't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to break down to prove you cared. Sometimes the most powerful statement is made in silence, in walking away without needing closure or permission. And that silence, that's what lingers. Days pass, maybe weeks, and there she is, thinking back to the way you left. No drama, no destruction, just presence. That's when it hits her. The man she expected to chase her was grounded enough not to. The man she pushed away didn't resist, but he also didn't shatter. And suddenly the absence you left behind begins to speak louder than any argument ever could. See, when you walk away without rage, you leave her with a question. It's not about your love, but about your strength, about your self-control, about how you manage to carry the weight of the goodbye without falling apart. And that's when she starts to wonder not just what she lost, but if she ever truly saw you clearly in the first place. So remember this, brother. Your calm is your power. Your silence is your answer, your exit. When done with peace, not spite, isn't a retreat. It's a reminder that you are the kind of man who stays only where his soul is respected. That kind of man he's not easy to forget. Number 7. She created distance too. She created distance to measure depth. Pushing you away was her way of testing. Will he fight for me? But a man grounded in his purpose doesn't fight to stay in places that dishonor his presence. He respects her space, not because he's given up, but because he knows that real love doesn't require convincing. And that's where so many men get trapped. They take the distance personally, as if it's a final rejection, and start scrambling to prove their worth. They text more, explain themselves, beg for a second chance, no trializing. They've already stepped out of their own center. But you're learning to respond, not react. That's what Stoicism teaches. You saw the shift in her energy, the subtle withdrawal, the shorter replies, the hesitation in her eyes, and instead of panicking, instead of chasing, you paused. You honored her space and your own dignity because the man who's rooted in self-respect knows something powerful. Not every silence needs to be filled. Not every distance should be closed. Let me tell you something real. Sometimes a woman tells you to leave because she hups. You'll resist. She wants to feel desired but fears being vulnerable. She might say go. While her heart whispers, please stay, but only if you really mean it. And here's the paradox. When you respect her words instead, offer hidden expectations, she starts to see your depth. She starts to realize that your love isn't desperation, it's discipline. Think of it like standing at the edge of a cliff. She leans back just to see if you'll reach out and pull her in. But the Stoic man doesn't lunge. He stays steady, calm. He lets her feel the absence. Hell lets her feel what it's like to miss the presence of a man who brings peace, not pressure. So if she told you to leave and you walked away without trying to force anything, that silence is now echoing. It's not emptiness, it's a mirror. And in that mirror, she'll see the one man who didn't need to fight Toprov. He was worthy of staying. And when she finally wonders, why didn't he come back? It's not because you didn't care. It's because you cared enough not to betray yourself. Take a moment to really sit with that. This isn't about pride. It's about principle, about showing up. For yourself first, even when emotions beg you to do the opposite. So before we move on, I want to hear from you. Have you ever walked away not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started honoring your worth? Drop your thoughts in the comments, or simply type, "I choose peace over pressure." This massage speaks to where you are right now. Let's keep going. It gets deeper. Her ego spoke, but her soul regretted it. Number 8. Her ego spoke, but her soul regretted it. Even if she never says it, regret lingers in her quiet scrolls through your profile. She checks your stories, wonders if you're okay. But pride keeps her from reaching out. That moment she told you to leave, it wasn't just a push. It was a mask, a way to protect her own vulnerability. She thought she'd feel powerful in control. But when the silence lasted longer than expected, when your footsteps didn't echo back with a text saying, "Can we talk?" That's when the realization began to stir. This isn't just about a breakup. It's about how people say things they don't mean when their emotions are louder. Thanther, clarity, and Stoicism. It teaches us that not every word spoken in anger deserves a response. As a man grounded in self-respect, you didn't chase. You didn't beg, you understood something deeper, just because she told you to go. Doesn't mean her heart didn't secretly wish you'd stay. But here's the truth. A man who values peace over drama doesn't argue. Imagine she tells you, maybe it's better if Wes talks talking. And instead of reacting with desperation or a guilt trip, you say, "I respect your choice. I wish you well." Then you walk silently, not coldly. You leave the door unlocked, but don't stand by it. That kind of calm, that kind of self-control, it haunts her more than any argument ever could. She may never admit she was hoping you'd resist, that she waited for a sign that you still cared. But instead, you responded like a stoic, anchored, not swayed by temporary emotion. That's when the inner conflict begins for her. The soul regrets what the ego demanded. She looks back, not because she wants to fix things, but because she didn't expect you to actually honor her words. And you moved forward because you've learned that not all closures come wrapped in words. Sometimes closure is found in your own clarity, in choosing dignity over desperation. In knowing that the man you're becoming is worth more than someone's silent regret. Keep walking. Keep growing. Let her ego wrestle with the silence you left behind. Number 9. Growth. The reaction she didn't expect. Here's where things shift. You didn't just disappear. You elevated. Got stronger, quieter, focused. She expected a breakdown. What she got was a man becoming untouchable. That's what haunts her. Not that you're gone, but that you're thriving without her. When she told you to leave, maybe she didn't say it with cruelty. Maybe it came out of frustration, fear, or the storm of emotions she couldn't process. Maybe she thought you'd resist, that you'd fight harder for her, that you'd beg to stay just one more night, but you didn't. And that silence, that choice to respect her decision without argument, it echoed louder than any dramatic goodbye ever. 'Cause she didn't expect you to listen. She didn't expect you to walk away with your peace intact. She definitely didn't expect you to grow. While she was waiting for a message, a slip-up, a sign that you were falling apart, you were doing the exact opposite. You were rebuilding, reconnecting with your discipline, realigning with your mission, getting back to the man you were before Theon Fusion. Before the chaos, before you forgot your worth, trying to prove it to anyone else. That's the quiet power of a stoic man. You don't react to emotion with more emotion. You don't try to win someone back who pushed you away just to see if you'd come running. You walk not in anger, but with purpose. You'll let your absence speak where your presence was once taken for granted. And in that stillness, she starts to feel what she never expected to feel: regret. While she's watching your stories, wondering how you're out there doing it, leveling up, making moves. You apostles. But when you do, it radiates peace, confidence, detachment, not coldness, not arrogance, just a man in control of himself. A man who needed no apology to move forward, who didn't grow out of spite, but out of necessity. This kind of response is rare, and it's what rattles her, because it forces her to confront the truth. She didn't lose a man who chased her. She lost a man who chose himself. And now she can feel the gap between who you were when she pushed you away and who you've become since she did. So, if you're feeling that pull, wondering if she's thinking about you, if she misses you, if she regrets, Wetch said, understand this. The fact that you're growing in silence is the answer. She told you to leave. But what really shook her was realizing you never looked back. Before we move on, I want you to pause and really sit with this truth. Your silence wasn't passive, it was powerful. Your growth wasn't for show, it was sacred. You didn't look back, not out of pride, but out of clarity. And that shift, that's what leaves a lasting mark. Now I'd love to hear from you. What part of this hit home for you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments on if this message spoke to something deep in you. Go ahead and like the video. We're not done yet. What comes next might just open your eyes even more. Let's keep going. The memory of your peace haunts her chaos. Number 10. The memory of your peace haunts her chaos in her quiet moments. She'll remember not your last message, not the argument, but the way you stayed calm. How you didn't beg, how your silence felt like a mirror to her own chaos. Like a true Stoic, you didn't fight for attention. You left behind energy she can't replicate. And that's the part that lingers. See? When she told you to leave, she wasn't fully ready for the version of you that would actually walk away. Thought you'd resist? She expected emotional fireworks, one last plea to stay, maybe even a desperate tackle in the middle of the night. But instead, you gave her something far more unsettling. Stillness. That stillness, brother, is what she feels. Now, the absence of noise, the absence of chaos. And in that silence, she's left to sit with herself. You didn't give her a scene, you gave her a lesson. You responded with a calm that made her question her own storm. When you stopped participating in the drama, it exposed how loud it truly was. This is what Amen of Principle does. He doesn't argue to prove his worth. He doesn't cling to hats fading. He simply honors what he brings, and if it's not seen, he'll leave it untouched. Maybe now she scrolls back through your old messages, not to read your words, but to feel the steadiness in them. Maybe she plays that last conversation in her head, not because of what was said, but because you didn't break. That kind of peace, it's unforgettable. You became the contrast to her confusion, the grounding energy she didn't know she needed until it was gone. This is Theopore of Stoic detachment. It's not coldness, but clarity, not punishment, but peace. You didn't leave to hurt her. You left because begging for love contradicts thievery's essence of self-respect. And now, even if her pride won't let her say it out loud, your calm presence haunts the parts of her still at war within. If you've ever doubted whether walking away with grace makes an impact, just know this, it does. But not always in words, not in confessions or apologies. Sometimes it's in how long your peace echoes in someone else's chaos. CONCOSCOAN. So brother, if she told you to leave, remember this. It's not your job to decode her silence, or to fight through mixed signals, just to prove your worth. You already did. Not by chasing, not by explaining, but by walking away with strength, with clarity, with peace. That silence you left behind it echoes louder than anything you could have said, because your calm wasn't weakness, it was your final truth. The truth that you are not a man who begs to stay, but a man who is remembered long after he's gone. And when her pride fades in the noise of the world settles, it's your presence, still grounded, unforgettable, that remains. If this video gave you something to think about, even just one powerful shift in perspective, go ahead and tap that like button. Drop a comment below and let me know which part hit the hardest, or just type "my silence is strength" if you're walking this path with me. And if you're ready for more insight, growth, and unshakable peace, go ahead and watch the next videos on your screen right now. They're waiting for you. Stay solid, stay calm, and always protect your peace.